Hi, I'm Monica. First of all, I want to thank Annalisa for the kind introduction, and thank you so much for having me as part of this great day, which is truly remarkable. You know, advancing women in business has been a topic that's been so dear to my heart, and it's really a thread to my life. I grew up in a small town in Italy, in a very conservative family. All the men went to college, none of the women did, and the reason they didn't wasn't because they didn't have the money, but frankly was purely because at the time the thought was, when my mother was growing up, that an education wasn't relevant for women because all they needed to do was to get married and have kids. I wouldn't stand for that, so I'm the first woman in my family to go to college, the first one to go to graduate school, and wanted to do something with my life. When I graduated from college, I went to London, and that's why, by the way, London is a little bit like coming home, where I got my first job at Merrill Lynch in M&A. And I took the job because at the time I realized in Italy there weren't opportunities for women, at least that I thought were relevant. And also because I wanted to be financially independent and I wanted to pursue my dream. And my dream was that women can have it all. They can have a big career. They can have a big family if they want to. And I really believe that. But if you think about it, my story, like all of your story, is really about courage. I have a piece of paper in my office in New York, if you come, that I've taken for 15 years with me, and from London to Boston to New York, and it says, la vittoria non è mai definitiva, la sconfitta non è mai fatale, quello che conta è il coraggio, which translates, for those of you who don't speak Italian, into victory is never forever and defeat is never fatal. All that matters is courage. All that matters is courage. And this is not just my courage, it's your courage, it's all of our courage. So with that, about 20 years later, like Annalisa said, I work at Goldman Sachs. I run a global group. I also run the Firm-Wide Women's Network, which, let me say, is a terrific organization of thousands of women at the firm. And our objective is exactly this, advancing women within the firm. I also am married. I have 3 kids, age 7, 3, and 3. And somehow I try to balance it all. So what I thought I would do today is share some lessons learned in my last 20 years in financial services. And hopefully if one of them resonates with you, I've done my job right. When I speak, I normally do everything in 3 M's, because 3 M's are my initials for whoever has heard me last time around. But today I figured I would do 5 M's because I had so much to say, but I'm going to be quick. I should also say, otherwise Annalisa is going to kill me. I should say that 3 weeks ago I gave this speech with these same 5 M's at my alma mater in Milan, and it took me. We have 10 today. So I'm going to be quick and very high level, and hopefully at the end you guys will ask me more questions. So let's go with the 5 M's. First M is map the forest. And what do I mean by that? Every time you start a new job, you're in front of a forest, you don't have a map, you don't know the road through the forest, you don't have a flashlight, you don't even know if a shortcut exists. But it does exist. And the big mistake that most women do, I certainly did, is that instead of mapping the forest, we just do our job. And so I was till 2 in the morning in the cubicle when I started at Goldman Sachs, figuring out that the presentation was great, that the Excel spreadsheet was correct, and that's all I did, because I thought if I do an excellent job, people will notice. They don't. And so what I would say is men are generally, and allow me to generalize here, generally much better than us at understanding the organization. You need to do your job great, but you also need to understand the organization, the norms, the values, the acceptable behaviors. Who is in power? Who has the nominal power, and who are the real influencers? You need to get to know those people. Who has the map of the forest, and who can you trust to give it to you? And by the way, who knows where the shortcut is? Because you got to follow that person. So you need to map the organization. The other thing that you need to do is figure out what's on the other side. What's the big goal? And somebody said you need to dream big. You need to have a huge goal. That goal is important initially because in the dark moments of the proverbial 2 a.m. in the cubicle, when the person next to you has taken credit for your work, or you didn't get the stretch assignment you were hoping for, you take the big goal, you put it in front of you like the light at the end of the tunnel, and you remember why you're there. Whether it is that you want to have the corner office at Goldman Sachs or be the CEO at your company, or whether it is that you want to be whatever you want to be, the best entrepreneur in your field, you need to have that big goal. Later on, that big goal is going to be important because you need to articulate it to the people that work for you so they will go with you wherever you want to go. So map the forest. Point 2, maximize what is in your control. Most of our career is unfortunately not in our control because the economy may impact it, the fortunes of your company, the boss. There may be a great boss and then gets fired, and there's a new boss that doesn't like us. A lot of things are not in our control yet. The people that I met in my life that were most successful are the people that absolutely maximized what is in their control, which is a lot. There's a few things, and I'm going to go very fast. One, the skills. I'm not even going to talk about that. You need to be excellent at what you do. I'm going to assume you all are. Two, your presence. For a woman, I think presence is incredibly important. We're actors on a stage 24/7. We're more scrutinized than men for our appearance, the way we dress, the way we stand, where we sit in the meeting, the way we talk, our tone of voice. We need to be clear, concise, strong. We cannot show emotions almost ever unless it's appropriate. And so I think that is incredibly important. The third thing is in your control is what I say, what makes you unique. When I started at Goldman, I had a terrible Italian accent, which I still do, when I speak English, and I thought it was a huge liability. So I went to a school in New York, in the Greenwich Village, where all the actors go to erase my accent. So Robert De Niro goes there to learn the mafia accent for the movie. Julia Roberts goes there to take away the Georgia accent, so she's perfect for the part. So I was there recording in a tape recorder to erase my Italian accent until I met a coach at Goldman Sachs that said, Americans, and for those of you who are Americans, you'll agree, have a very short span of attention, but it is statistically proven that they listen longer to people that have a foreign accent. And that delta is actually 7 seconds longer, which is an eternity for an American audience. And so the coach said, you should keep your Italian accent. And that made me think, it wasn't just the accent, it was the whole package. So I needed to turn a perceived liability into an asset. I'm Italian, I have an accent, I'm warm, I'm direct, I connect with clients better, I know about art, I'm from Milan, so I know about style, I know about food, I know about hotels. There's a lot of things that come with that. So you need to figure out what it is that makes you unique, whether it is that you were a chef before going to graduate school, you were an athlete in college, you know, everything about ballet, I don't care. Turn up the volume 3 notches on that to make sure you're memorable. When you are in a large organization, you need to do that. And then the final thing that is in your control is what I call the meeting. So there's a banker at Goldman Sachs, no longer there, that was very famous. His name was Byron Trott. And the reason why Byron Trott, you remember, was famous is because Warren Buffett, in his annual report one year, in the letter to the shareholders, said that the only banker on Wall Street that he trusted was this guy, Byron Trott. So obviously, in my world, that's a big endorsement. So I was in St. Louis doing a deal. We were selling a company, and I'm walking into a meeting with Byron. And I said, Byron, give me a piece of advice. And he says, I'm going to give you great advice. Like, what is it? And he says, treat every meeting like it's your last. Treat every meeting like it's your last. And that's seriously the best advice I've had in my career, possibly in my life. And the reason is you need to give it all, every meeting, all the time. Even if you think you're in the lamest internal meeting with people that won't matter to your career, still give your best. You never know. Every opportunity is an opportunity to make an impression. And that's incredibly important. Third point. Master networking. Now, I could talk an hour about networking, but I won't. The point is, this is not a solo flight. Nobody cares about career more than you do, but you're not alone in the flight deck. There's a lot of other people that go with you. And people think that networking is phony, handing out cards, shaking hands, not really care, but that's not networking. The definition of networking that I like, which there's many, but that's my favorite, says that networking is building lasting relationship with people that are mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial. So I think about it, networking is all the time. Think about how you met your spouse, how you choose your doctor, the neighborhood where you live. Probably somebody you trust gave you advice. That is networking. So we're all great networkers to begin with. But to put a little framework on it, very quickly, please stop me when I don't have any more time. I'll skip some M's, I'll do it in the Q&A. The way I would think about the network is the following. One, there's an internal network and an external one. And both extremely important. In the internal one, there are different constituencies, and you need to have them all in your network. One, the coaches. These are the people at your level or below that help you get the job done. They give you the information, they know about the organization, they help you get the job done. Two, the mentors, and Amanda was talking about the difference between mentors and sponsors. Mentors, senior people, you go to them for advice, trusted, confidential advice. The sponsors, not to be confused with the mentors, as you know, are the people that pound the table for you when you're not there, when there is the promotion meeting. I think the promotion should go to Amanda for the following 5 reasons. That's the sponsors. If you don't have the sponsors, you won't progress further than you are. Extremely important. And finally, the junior people. When I started my career, somebody told me, you know, you're managing up because you're at the bottom of the totem pole, but you need to figure out very quickly how to manage people below you. Because guess what? 20 years in your career, everybody's below you. So you better know how to do that. So you need to find junior people that you trust and manage them very aggressively. Now, I'm not going to give you further tips on networking. On the external network, I would say it's a lot of people. It's the people that you meet at the gym, your family, your friends, tremendous amount of people that you meet in your alumni network, people that you meet today. These are the people that you should be networking with, and you shouldn't be just handing out cards, but find one person that you can connect with. In fact, I would say, let's stop for 3 seconds, turn around and introduce you to the person to your right. If you don't know her already, please, right now, and make sure that you continue the conversation later. All right, I'm sorry, otherwise my time goes over, but I'm delighted you're all meeting each other. I'm sorry, I've unleashed the, okay, can I have 2 extra minutes, please, 2 minutes. All right, so just 2 words of advice on networking. Again, I have about 15 points, but I'm gonna make a couple. One is, think of yourself as a business. I'm Monica LLC, she's Amanda LLC, she's April LLC, and create your own personal board of directors with sponsors, coaches, mentors. Try to make a list of who these people are. If you don't know who they are right now in your career, maybe you have some homework to do. Don't worry, the first time I tried, I failed miserably, so you can take your time in figuring it out, but that's extremely important. Second, when you build a network, it's quality over quantity. Don't look for many people, just find the ones that are really helpful to you and you're helpful to them. Third, make sure you give first. You need to be open, talk to people, but don't go into a conversation wondering what that person can do for you. Think about what you can do for them. Give first, extremely important. Be thoughtful, be listening, be helpful, and collect chips. I call it networking equity. Just collect all those chips. And then finally, last point on this, and then we're moving on, you need to cash the chips. I find women are so nice and nurturing. We talk to everybody. We are helpful. We're so helpful. We're incredibly helpful. And then when it comes the time where we need something, we're afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Cash those chips. I cannot overemphasize how important that is. Now, 4th point, super fast, methodically reassess. What do I mean by that? Once a year, when you do the New Year resolution, stand in front of the mirror, ask the tough questions. Do I still love my job? Because if you don't love your job, you won't be the most successful at it. Do I still find that the commitment of my career are compatible with the commitment of my life? Am I in line for the next promotion or my career is stalling? You need to ask those questions. And if you cannot answer positively, maybe it's time for a change. If you do not answer positively, you're not going to be the best at what you do. It's as simple as that. The second thing that you need to reassess is the big goal. Remember the one on the other side of the forest? You need to keep that very current. And I would say 2 things. One, it needs to be big. It needs to be huge. I met last week a woman from Nigeria. She's my mentee because at Goldman we have a program called 10,000 Women where we go and help in underdeveloped countries, 10,000 women, putting them through education and helping them start a business. Because we believe that the largest underutilized asset in the world is women, and we want to make sure they participate in the economy in those countries. So this woman from Nigeria started a catering business, and she came to my office, and so I was getting an update on the catering business, and I said, what's your goal? And I'm expecting she would say, well, you know, I have this catering business, I'm going to start the catering business in the next town over, or something like that. Instead, you know what she said to me? My goal is that I'm going to be the largest caterer in West Africa. Actually, I'm going to be the largest caterer in Africa. So, why is this important? It's important for one reason. People want to follow successful people. Do you think the people that work for this caterer are more excited if she wants to open next town over, or if she wants to be the largest caterer in Africa? I mean, we want to be realistic, but you know what? She could be, right? And so dream super big, have really big goals, make sure you can express it concisely and very frequently. Extremely frequently, you need to refer it to your people so they will follow. And then finally, the last M, move the mountain. Now, move the mountain. What are we talking about? We're talking about diversity and women, which is so dear to all of us. What do I mean by that? There's a lot of talk, leaning in, speaking up. We're talking always about all these skills that we need to develop to be great leaders. All true. I even went through a few in my first M's. But let's think about, why do we need to work on all these skills, on speaking up, on being assertive, on playing the game, knowing the field, etc. Simply because the rules were set by the men. That's the only reason. And so what we really need to do is change the rules of the game and make the game a game that's friendly, not just to men, but to men and to women and to everybody. And in order to do that, every study says the minority group, in order to be able to change the rules of the game, needs to have a critical mass of about 30%, which we're nowhere close. But we need to work towards that. And so what I'm asking all of you today is to be fierce and courageous, the famous all that matters is courage, and stick it out day in, day out, and continue to progress, and bring other women along with you so that we build a critical mass. But I'm also going to say we can't do it alone, and I'm going to challenge the few men in the room here to say, please give a chance to somebody that doesn't look like you. So when you have a stretch, because that's the easiest choice, it's natural, without meaning any harm. Most men end up picking the safest choice, which usually looks like them. And so I am asking you, when you're going to choose the next person to do a stretch assignment, but even when you're going to a meeting with a client and you need to bring along a colleague, don't bring Joe, bring Jane, assuming they're equally capable. And I really believe that if we do all this together, we're going to move the mountain. We can move the mountain. And by creating a team and a world and a business environment with rules that work for everybody, we're going to really create a better future. Thank you.